Hi folks, welcome to Exercise of the Month for Conan Fitness. This month we're reviewing a bicep curl, looking at some of the common faults that you see out there when people are performing the bicep curl, and some of the ways to get the most out of it as far as maximally working the biceps, and a couple of variations that'll hopefully help you to put it into your programs when doing bicep curls of various nature. So let's have a look at the exercise and let's have a bit of a review. So the first and foremost thing when it comes to bicep curl and getting maximum tension and range of motion in the biceps is the position of the shoulder blades and also the position of the elbow. And what we commonly see is this. If I get you to do a few bicep curls, Carrie, so curling all the way up, let your shoulder blade roll forward. What we see in a common bicep curl is that a lot of the range of motion when lifting the bar comes from the shoulder blade itself, the scapula actually rotating. Now what you'll notice there, if she keeps doing that, this kind of swaying bicep curl, is that the length of the bicep itself doesn't actually change a great deal. So the arm itself, or the bicep itself, isn't doing most of the work. A lot of it's coming from the shoulder and the muscles that rotate the shoulder blade. So what we essentially want to do to get correct positioning, and you notice that when she does that, the elbow points backwards, again, keeping the bicep short. We want to lengthen the bicep. So what we're going to do instead is push the elbow forward so you get a nice straight, 180 degree elbow angle. Plus we're going to pin the shoulder blades right back, push the chest up nice and tall. That gets the stretch in the bicep, so now the bicep's in the long position. From there she's going to push ever so slightly forward first to make sure that the elbow doesn't point back. That way we get maximum tension on the bicep and maximum range of motion. You notice we come up to here and then we curl back down, keeping the shoulder blade where it is, and you can see the length or the change of length in bicep doing it with the shoulder blade back than when the shoulder rolls forward. Basically, when the shoulder rolls forward, it's kind of like an isometric contraction where the muscle's the same length, which is stronger for the bicep. It doesn't have to do as much work. When it does a concentric contraction, that is full range of motion, it's obviously doing greater work. Another tip, what I'm going to get Carrie to do now is lead with the wrist. So what we're going to do is get the wrist to basically, like you're revving a motorcycle but upside down. And you notice the tendency is to get to the top and curl the wrist or use the forearm muscles to do it. But is she going to lead with her wrist? That's it. And just to here, that's enough. And then control all the way down. Basically, as much flexion as you can get in the elbow joint without the bar flicking back onto the chest. And what that's going to do is take out the forearms and just let the bicep do all the work. And you can feel the difference there. Keeping the shoulder blade back, keeping the chest nice and tall. Good. Great. And you can have a bit of a rest. Next, what we're going to do is take it another step further. If I can get you set up with dumbbells on the bench, Carrie. With an incline dumbbell curl, what we're going to do is take the range of motion in the bicep that we just spoke about to the next degree. So essentially, because of the angle of Carrie's body now, if we again push the chest up and pin shoulder blades, can you see that we get an even larger stretch on bicep? Because it's not hanging by our side now, it's hanging back behind us, which gets a greater stretch on the bicep. From there, she's just going to curl the dumbbells up to shoulders, trying to keep these pinned. Again, the tendency is to let the shoulder roll forward, and therefore the shoulder does the weight as opposed to the bicep. So if you can refrain from that, pin that back. This is the most important factor. It's harder, so you might not be able to lift as much weight, but in the end you'll be stronger. So what she's doing is consistent bicep curls there, and again the tendency will be to point the elbow back. Try not to. Try and push the dumbbell ever so slightly forward to keep maximum tension on the bicep. A common exercise is to let the elbow point back. Just exaggerate that. Point the elbow back so the dumbbell kind of comes straight up, and that's not bad. It puts a nice really straight line of force on the bicep, but it's certainly not the maximum against gravity. So while it's probably pretty good for a bit of a variation, the majority of my biceps curl I'd go through full range of motion, get maximum tension on the bicep. Rotation. With the wrist and the hand position, we can obviously have a supinating action or just what we call a hammer curl action, which keeps the dumbbell in, like you're hitting a hammer. If we do that, Carrie, curl it straight up as a hammer curl. Yep. And all of these variations, if you just keep doing a few hammers, these are all great just to hit the muscle in a slightly different way. We'll get slightly more bicep activation if we do throw in the added supination. That's where we curl the palm towards the top, yep, and control it on the way down. Our palms face ourselves. Then as we curl up, the palm faces the ceiling, and even out if you've got the range of motion. It does put an extra load on the bicep because it is another action that the bicep does. One last thing to note is that where the elbows are in relation to the hands when we're doing the bicep curl, whether it's a bar standing or seated like Harry is now. Once we pin these shoulder blades back and the chest up, I want to try and see, I don't know if you can see from that angle, but instead of having the dumbbells in the same, like parallel with your elbows, we're going to have it ever so slightly out. So the dumbbells are wider than our actual elbows are. It's kind of like pinning your elbows into your ribs here. So pin them right into the side. Now if you lift them out, so dig your elbow into your rib as you do it, that's it, and then control down. That's actually getting it a slightly even further arc, if you will, or range of motion, and therefore puts the bicep under tension because it's like it's further away from its fulcrum, if you will, the elbow being the fulcrum of the movement. So that way you're going to get even greater force on the bicep. You won't be able to lift as much weight, but you'll get better line of force, better tension, better range of motion, and in the end you're working the bicep to a greater degree. So give that a shot, folks. Try a few of those variations. Really focus on the shoulder blade position and the position of the elbow joint, getting maximum range, and all the best with your bicep curl.